Hi guys, it's Mike with another Gilded Guardian Spotlight video. We're going to take a look at Dorro today. He is a Terra Strength Keeper Warrior. So being a warrior, he's probably going to be a little bit squishy and not super powerful, but kind of good in all regards. Good in all regards, great in none. I did put the gear on him, again, trying to get to 600, 650, but we are stuck down here at below 5. So I think it's just going to be what it is until I can get my gear upgraded a little bit more. But we do have him in the same gear I was running on Tuskrog, so it's the best gear that I have. We got a defense in here with HP, and he's in defense boots, and we got a bunch of attack over here on Driz's crossbow we brought onto him. So that should be fairly helpful in bringing his damage up a little bit. Because he's a warrior, I would say typically I would lean towards going with attack boots based on his kit with everything being attack focused, but he's also going to be a little harder to keep alive, so defense or HP boots could also be a benefit, especially if we have extra attack over here on Driz's crossbow. So let's go ahead and take a peek at his skills. I do think this champion has the ability to be kind of sneaky good. But I haven't really seen him in action, so I'm not sure, but his kit was definitely interesting to me. So his ultimate ability is Thorn Whip. He creates an area that deals 50% of attack as physical damage within it for every second for 6 seconds. If an enemy leaves the area by more than 2 meters, they become stunned for 2 seconds and are dealt 500% attack as physical damage. So I do feel like this could potentially be a huge win, getting the stun and a really big hit if they are to leave that area. Poisonous Arrow is his second ability. Target the 2 furthest enemies and after a short delay slams them together, dealing 190% of attack as physical damage and causing dizzy. Each meter they are apart increases the damage by 10% and the duration of dizzy by 0.5 seconds. So that has the potential of taking the back line like a Drizda or some sniper in the back row damage dealer, and potentially one-hitting them. And then if not, they're going to be dizzy for maybe a second or two, depending on how far apart they are from the other person. But it definitely has some merit. And then his passive is Putrid Spore. It increases his crit rate by 10%. Each critical hit increases his attack by 5% for 10 seconds, and it is stackable. So if he's critting more frequently, he might get 3 or 4 of these stacks within a 10-second period. So definitely an interesting kit. Kind of makes you, open your eyes. We got him upgraded here where that's going to be a 20% crit increase. Instead of 190%, we're at 250. And then down here, we're increasing damage per second by 80% instead of 50%. So we are on into the first room of the Great Forge, which is our normal spot. One thing to keep in mind with Dorro is he is a Terra Guardian, so he is in a negative affinity. So that is a little bit unfortunate. Also, his overall power ranking is at, what was that, like 486? Whereas we're trying to be around 600. So he's underpowered and he's negative affinity. So we'll try to keep that in mind as we go through his kit here. We're going to go ahead and hit fight. We're going to turn off the 2 times to slow it down a little bit and see if we can see his kit in action. So we're hoping to get his, he got a stun there. So he's got his ability coming up. And so this will be where he lays down that area. If anybody leaves the area, they're going to get stunned and they're going to get hit really hard. While they're in the area, they're getting hit for 50% damage, or I think ours is now 80% because we upgraded it, for 6 seconds. So it's not too bad. Like it kind of works out well where they're either getting damage or they try to leave to avoid the damage and they get big time damage plus a stun. So it's kind of an interesting kit. I would also like to see his secondary ability in act where he grabs the 2 furthest enemies right here. And he's going to hurl them together, I think. Nope, so those were just an area whip where they had the bind on them and they were taking the damage. So he's going to whip these guys together and seems to be going through it pretty quickly. So it is an AoE ability. It's interesting that it only affected the back row 2 people and not the others. So I'm wondering if maybe it doesn't affect every enemy. Alright, so we're a little bit unfortunate here. We did get the added ability to get stunned, which is unfortunate when he doesn't have any healing in his kit. So if we get back-to-back-to-back stuns, it might end up killing him. Plus he's underpowered, plus he's negative affinity, so keep all that in mind. But I'm actually pretty impressed with him so far as his ability to get through these waves. He's taking a stun there. I'm anxious to see taking another stun. This isn't looking good. We need him to play. There he goes. Use your ability. So he's going to go ahead and lasso. Let's see. It looks like it's only affecting 2 champions. So he did not make it through. Now, chances are if he didn't have the stun, I think he probably would have, because he only got to use his ability 1 time and he killed 2 or 3 of those enemies. But it looks like that his whip only affects 2 enemies. So I want to take a closer look at that. So looking at his thorn whip, he creates an area. So by binding those champions, I think that's the area that everybody's getting affected by this damage. And it happens every second for 6 seconds, which is doing some pretty good work. And then if the enemy leaves the area. Now, in that entire fight, we didn't see any of those enemies leave the area and take on this 500% damage, at least that I noticed. Or get stunned, which would be the other thing, if they survive the 500% damage, because that's a lot of damage. So I do think that his kit does have merit. I think that he could be really useful early game, probably into the mid game, and then you probably start moving away from him later. But he can be sneaky good for you. I think that his ability to clear those waves with the negative affinity and being underpowered is pretty impressive. And if he did use, I didn't see him use Poisonous Arrow the entire time, where he grabbed the 2 furthest enemies. Potentially he did, and he killed them before he hurled them at each other to create the dizzy part. So that could have happened, where he actually ended up just killing them before they got the dizzy. But I think overall he is an interesting champ. I think that you could definitely find use cases for him. This ability here could make him a counter to Darizda in Arena, because he's going to go to the furthest enemies, and those are going to be the 2 in the back. So that could be something that could have merit there. But all in all, I think he's an interesting champion, and I think that he probably has a few different use cases, specifically early and mid game. If we jump out to the market, take a look at Dorro. He's actually valued right now at $1.81, which is pretty low. With the Ascension seals required, my guess is this person's probably not breaking even, but there's 3 of them available under the 226, so I'd probably say once those sell through, this would be probably more as normal price. But as those Gilded Guardian tokens enter the free-to-play accounts, theoretically you could sell him for 50 cents and make a profit if you wanted to. So it could pull the prices down on those core Guardians, because you're getting so many copies of them from pulling them and from fragments and everything else. But they have him listed here at 181. You see that he had a crazy spike on June 1st for some reason, but he is kind of trending downward a little bit. But I do think that he might be a little bit sneaky, and a lot of people might be sleeping on Dorro. I think he could definitely do some work on that end. If we jump back into the game here and take a look, his Ascension seals required right now is 29, so he is less than Palmera and some of the other epic characters. Usually they're kind of low to mid 30s. So he is a little bit lower, so that's going to just require less seals to do it, and his cost to ascend is going to be a little bit less. So maybe we are breaking even around that $1.80 point. So hopefully you found that interesting. I appreciate you taking the time with me today. That's pretty much what I got for you on Dorro, and I look forward to seeing you next time.